Welcome to this new and special edition of the Queer God Squad. We are the coolest pastors you'll ever meet.
Faith and religion can be complicated for the LGBTQ plus community. Surveys show that evangelical faith is a justification for the greatest attack on the LGBTQ plus community.
So the Queer God Squad is going to explore our religious community, explore the big news of the day and what it means to you.
And we're going to explore if we can find some places that will help heal the pain and hurt that religion can be responsible for. We know you are going to find some hope, peace, and fun in our conversation.
It's 3 p.m. and the Queer God Squad is broadcasting daily.
This is live, and then we are available on demand.
We are available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook.
In the entire world, nothing like this has ever existed for the LGBTQ plus community before.
I am Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister here at Sunshine Cathedral.
And I am Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin, the Executive Minister here at the Sunshine Cathedral.
And I am Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, the Minister of Connections here at Sunshine Cathedral.
I am the Reverend Kevin Tisdall, the Minister of Education here at Sunshine Cathedral.
Radical GOP and evangelicals have launched a culture war on our LGBTQ plus community. They want to push you back into the closet. We're not going.
At Sunshine Cathedral, we are here to tell you that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Our commitment in partnering with Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight is to give the LGBTQ plus faith community this voice for change, for hope that you are not alone.
Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio model of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ plus community. The Queer God Squad is part of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ plus community, including the Black community, Latino, lesbian and queer women, trans, students and youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, social justice, business, and our 10th pillar is faith. Help us support our LGBTQ plus community.
Dragvina Scriptura travels to Tennessee to preach pride despite drag bans. Recently, the infamous Dragvina Scriptura traveled to Tennessee to deliver a special sermon about pride, acceptance, and why our parties should be embraced as celebrations of love and life.
Good things happen when we get together in joy. Good things happen when we get together for a festival. Good things happen when we get together for a party. Good things happen when we get together for a parade. When we remember to get together and share and celebrate and find joy, miracles can come out of that. People aren't trying to silence the party people because parties aren't powerful. Parties are empowering. They are celebrations of joy, and joy is one of the attributes of the divine.
Clearly, we're here, we're queer, God loves us, get used to it. And we have lots on our minds. So let's extend the clarion call. That was actually from a sermon in Tennessee, in Nashville, just on Pride Sunday. So let's extend that discussion by talking about it. Robert, and it doesn't have to be about that. We can talk about anything. This is free time. So, Robert, what's on your mind?
So the library is open?
Yes, yes. Let's read.
Read that.
As we come to the end of Pride Month, I've been noticing there are particular folks on the other side, if you will, who have been talking about the Pride Month versus the sin of pride. And so I'm just curious about what they're going to do by calling us sinning, by saying we're enjoying Pride Month as the LGBT plus community, and their take on what it means when they talk about pride as a sin. So I think I might do a little article about that. It may be forthcoming.
All right.
Yeah, that's good. I always am happy to tell them that the pride you read about, the sinful pride in the Bible, is arrogance. Like, the arrogance of thinking that you know what everyone else's sexuality should be, or the arrogance of saying that only your religion is right and everyone's going to hell. That's the pride. It isn't talking about self-esteem and enjoying who you are and being thankful for who you are. So they once again, don't know as much as they think they know about much of anything. And what's on your mind?
Actually, in the same vein, it's kind of interesting. Pride Month. We're coming up to the end of June. And this has really been a phenomenal Pride. There's been so much happening. There's so many actions and so much work, really great work. People turning out for Pride. And June is ending. And now it's like, where do we go from here? What is next? I really, really don't want to see everything just end, which often happens when you have a specific month for something. I really don't want to see everything end. So what's next? What are our next steps? Where do we go from here? That's on my mind.
Excellent. Kevin, what about you?
Over the past week, my husband and I went up to visit family all over New York State. We stayed on Long Island, a very, very conservative town, and we go into the Starbucks, and my husband goes, look at this, rainbow flags everywhere. Out in the middle of nowhere, rainbow flags. We go into New York City, and of course, it's just all over the place. 1 million people were scheduled to march in their Pride Parade last Sunday. And then we went upstate New York, the hotbed of conservatism, and even there, flags and just proclamations all over the place. So yeah, we're here, we're queer. You better get used to it.
I'm not going anywhere. I guess similar to Ann's, I've been seeing how energized this Pride season has been, this Pride Tide. And I was in Nashville for their Pride. It was amazing. It was a wonderful celebration. They had a 2-day festival. They had an amazing parade. They had services. And so many churches were in this Pride Parade. Episcopalians, Jews, Lutherans, Presbyterians, Methodists, and then at the festival there was like Methodist Row, because the Methodist Church has recently split over these issues, and so there was just Methodist after Methodist after Methodist, and so it was really quite beautiful. And then it just occurs to me that what's different this year is that we're not just celebrating past victories, we're mourning victories lost, and we're fighting for our dignity, for our rights, for our rights to speak out and be heard, to perform. So we're really fighting for our lives again. And I think that has changed the tone. I think that's changed the energy. And I do hope that we learn anything people give us they can take back.
Yes.
We can't get complicit. We can't get lazy. And so, yes, show up at Prides, show up in the voting booth, show up at queer affirming and queer celebrating spaces. Never take it for granted, because you take it for granted this much, and then they just things change quickly. We've had the Voting Rights Act gutted. We've had a woman's right to choose gutted. Yes, we still have marriage equality, but then they said, fine, get married, but you can't perform or be around kids in drag or what? And now that's being challenged in courts, and there's some good news coming up, but we can't take it for granted. So all this excitement, all this energy, keep that.
Yes.
Remember
Absolutely.
that. And so let's make Pride Month be Pride Life.
Yes,
Amen.
absolutely.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah. Kevin?
This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Does We the People March include people of faith? The National Coalition, We the People, will conduct a march in South Florida on Sunday, July 2nd at Esplanade Park. The motto of the march is to protect our democracy when our most treasured American freedoms are under attack. With around 1,000 bills that are already passed, our basic rights are at risk of getting erased. This country never has seen such a blatant abuse of power against virtually every group. People of color, immigrants, women, LGBTQ+ communities, Jewish people, and more. Such situations are usually dealt with in courts, but now they have become one of the lead deniers. This is how dictatorships take hold. We are not one party or another, but we must speak out against tyranny. and it can be done in collaboration with religious and faith support. Queer community's favorite LGBTQ church, Sunshine Cathedral, believes in the inclusivity, acceptance, and dignity of everyone. The church stands for equality and equity. Next month, We, the People Coalition, will take to the streets of Fort Lauderdale at the epicenter of the battle. Find out more at WTPmarch.org. Wow. We've been talking at this table about all of the things that are going on in America, and we need to make sure that we understand that there are just so many groups that want to take away freedoms. And I see some memes, and they all kind of say the same thing. Equality, equity is not a pie. If you get a piece, then it doesn't diminish the pieces that I can get. The courts are all over the place right now. You've got one court here in Florida saying that you can't restrict speech, and which is what they're trying to do by restricting the drag community. So there's just a lot going on, and we have to be as involved as we've ever been in the conversation about equality for all people: straight, gay, cis, trans, pan, asexual. One of my grandchildren came out as asexual. We have to be able to protect their rights.
Yeah.
It's everybody out there, and we all have to stay loud and active.
And that's why people are taking to the street. I'm glad this We the People March is happening. A little sore spot for us, because we are a worshiping community, that they have chosen the 11 o'clock hour, the worship hour, on Sunday, the worship day. And so we'll be supporting it from church. I'll talk about it in the clarion call on Sunday, on the Sunday of that event that week. And we'll say prayers. Of course, we could have had 30, 40, maybe even more people be part of it from the church. And I'm sure some people from the church will be there anyway. But we could have supported it really enthusiastically, but we can't stop being the church. Like, we are activists. We are activists all the time. We are feeding hungry folks. We're helping people get sober. We're confronting injustice. We were doing weddings on the lawn and protest to them being made illegal to begin with back in 2008. I mean, we are out there, but the source of our activism, the source of our strength, is our faith. Mm-hmm. We come together, we love each other, we build each other up, we pray together, we sing together, and then that charges our battery so we can spend the next 7 days doing all this good stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we dare not skip that. We dare not act like that's not an important component, and for us, even primary component of our activism. So I'm sorry we won't be there. Normally one of us, maybe more than one of us, would have said a few words. Certainly we would have been there in color. But if you're going to choose it on our worship time, we're going to have to support you from the sidelines, and we will. On that day, we're going to pray for you. We're going to give you a shout out. We're going to wish you all the best. We're going to thank you for doing it. Next time, make it a Sunday afternoon, because we'd love to be part of it. But we'll be part of it from the sidelines. And thank you for doing it.
Right. And, the church being part of it, we may not be able to be there physically because it does fall during a worship time. But the work of the march, the call that people are receiving to step out and to speak up, that is something that we do all of the time here at Sunshine Cathedral. That is a huge, big part of who we are anyways. So yes, we may not be able to be there because it is on a Sunday morning, and at the same time, you can bet that Sunshine Cathedral will make its presence known one way or the other.
We're with you. Yeah, and I'm sure that this won't be the last one that we will be able to be a part of. There will be other marches that will be happening around the nation, even in our local communities. And, we find our spot, we claim our spot, we shout out, we speak out, and people know where we are, as a part of the We the People March, or even as part of our individual social activism. We have to take a stand on so much that's going on right now, and this is not a time to be silent.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Amen. This is the Sunshine Cathedral Perspective. Will Pope Francis defeat the Vatican Illuminati over women and LGBTQ+ rights? The Vatican has released the synthesis of a 2-year consultation process, publishing a working document that will form the basis of discussion for a big meeting of bishops and lay people in October. Pope Francis has already made his mark on the synthesis, calling a synod, letting lay people, and in particular women, have a vote alongside bishops. That reform is a concrete step toward what he calls synodality, a new way of being a church that envisions more co-responsibility in governance and the key mission of spreading the Catholic faith. The Synod has already unanimously and crucial call for women to be allowed to access positions of responsibility and governance. Without raising the prospect of women's ordination to the priesthood, it asked whether new ministries could be created, including the diaconate, a reflection of years-long call by some women to be ordained deacons in the church. The document also asked what concrete steps the church can take to better welcome LGBTQ+ people and others who have felt marginalized and unrecognized by the church so that they don't feel judged. The poor, migrants, the elderly and disabled, as well as those who by tribal or caste feel excluded. Perhaps most significantly, the document used the terminology LGBTQ+ persons rather than the Vatican's traditional persons with homosexual tendencies. I see what they're doing. And yes, steps, small steps, baby steps. But they are still excluding women from the full governance of the church. I recognize that there's some discrimination. I recognize there is patriarchy and misogyny and that clinging to power. I also recognize that many denominations are seeing a significant decline in their number of attendees. And if we reach out to women, then maybe we'll pick it up. Well, I'm not so sure about that. You're giving us a small bite of something, but you're not giving us what we deserve. I can affirm that women's call to ministry is as positive and out there as everybody else's call to ministry, as men's call to ministry.
Of course. So. And I mean, steps in the right direction. Thanks for thanks for waking up to the 1800s, where the disciples of Christ were already ordaining women, where Congregationalists and Universalists were already ordaining women. So well done you. Where women were starting, like the Seventh-day Adventist and the Christian Science movement.
Right.
But welcome to the party. Yeah. But there's not a Catholic at this table, so I don't know that we can speak authoritatively to it. But right is right, and excluding people for who they are is not right. And so we can say that with some conviction. I think it steps in the right direction, and it may help. It may help you get. They want to spread the faith. They say spread the message, make more Catholics, and that's fair, I guess, but I'm not sure that this is the strategy, that having women deacons, that you had to fight to even get that. I'm not sure that that's just going to, women are going to be tearing the doors down. I think the problem with religion isn't that, yes, it's hateful to exclude women. Yes, it's hateful to exclude gays. Yes, it is hateful to say you can't control your own body. Those things are hateful, but those hateful things come out of hateful theologies that say that there is a God that condemns people or rejects people, that there is this forever hell. No matter what terrible thing you've ever done in your life, what deserves eternal, never-ending torment? I mean, this stuff is just crazy. It's not as historic as people think it is. There's a development over time of these theologies, and they're all rooted in power. And I think that's what people are just sick of. People are sick of this one gets a miracle, this one doesn't. This one's good enough, that one isn't. These are in, those are out. These ones go to heaven, these ones go to hell. It's just so manipulative and mean, and that you're going to let some women preach that mean message, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. You got to change the message. Yes, stop excluding gays and stop making people pretend to be celibate and stop excluding women, but also get a message that really is loving and kind and affirming and life-giving, and having a woman deacon setting the table and doing the dishes, which is what the deacon does. So women can be deacons, maybe, right? Because they set the table and do the dishes at the Eucharist. Wow. That's not going to, we got to work on the message. The Christian message has been damaged. And until we fix that, having a few more gays, a few more women, letting divorced people be in ministry, those are steps in the right direction, but those are 2 steps toward a marathon that still needs to be run.
Indeed.
And I'm just going to say, God bless this Pope for pushing the envelope.
Yes.
Popes over the generation have pushed envelopes, but I think this Pope is probably the one that's going to push them over. I pray for him long life to get it done, so that when the next Pope comes along, this is not a discussion. This doesn't distract from the church. And for people who say, you know what, if they won't ordain you there, then come over to us. And I'm going to go back and forth on it these days. My thing is, stay where you feel comfortable. Stay where you feel that you can fight the battle for change, for hope, because the battle you're fighting is going to save someone along the way. I am encouraging people to stay, kind of stand your ground, and speak and share your voice and let your concerns be known. And I pray for that. This is not even an issue. There are more issues going on in the world than this. I can guarantee you that we need to be addressing. And so this is just, in my where I sit, this is a no-brainer, but for the Catholic Church, this is a major thing for them. And I get it, and at the same time, let's move on.
Right. And I will say that the Catholic Church is, they are passionate about the rights of immigrants. They're passionate about relieving the suffering of the poor. Those are things we could actually learn from them and do better ourselves. So yes, these could be more, less connected to unrestricted capitalism, which when that becomes part of your religion, that's damaging. These ones could become less about capitalism. These ones could become less homophobic. These ones could become less misogynistic. But all of us, I think that comes out of having better theology. And as long as we have an angry God and a hell punishment and some are in and some are out, we're just never going to do right, because our whole thing is based in separation and ugliness and cruelty. And you're not going to get justice out of that.
Right.
Alrighty. So be it for the Catholics.
You said move on. So move us along.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Is Reddit a new safe space for queer faith? Reddit as a platform is known for the diverse user base and presence of numerous communities that cater to the various interests and identities, including the queer community. While it's important to note that individual subreddits can vary in terms of their modernization policy and community atmosphere, Reddit as a whole has taken steps to foster an inclusive environment. Reddit has implemented policies to combat harassment, hate speech, and discrimination. The site's content policy explicitly prohibits the promotion of hate speech, including content that targets individuals or groups based on their sexual orientation, gender, identity, or other protected characteristics. This policy helps to create a safer space for queer individuals and promote inclusivity on the platform. There are numerous LGBT+ lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and other non-heterosexual, non-cisgender communities on Reddit where individuals can find support, share experiences, and encourage and engage in discussion related to queer issues. These communities often provide resource, advice, and a sense of belonging for queer individuals and allies. Subreddits like Gay Christian, Gay Jews, A Place for Transgender Christians, and Queer Theology are some of the safe places on Reddit to discuss issues that queer communities face over the pain and hurt of traditional religion. May it be so.
Yeah.
I think if they have taken steps probably more progressive than some other platforms, and I think that for our communities, we are encouraging and to find safe places where we can have these discussions, where they're, especially around the queer faith part, especially around religious discussion and religion, because so many have been hurt by that. And so whatever place we can find to have those conversations that are safe, that are healthy, that are wholesome, then let's tap into those places, because so many of our people are, more people today are on the internet than probably ever before. I was just having a discussion with someone recently about, I go back to the flip cell phones. So just think about how technology has advanced to, that little queer kid somewhere in Wyoming who is going to read and search out what it means to be gay or lesbian or cisgender, whatever. That these are platforms that they can access wherever they are, and hopefully that the content they find will be something that would be nurturing and uplifting and safe for them to tap into, and then reach beyond that community to find other resources that can help them in their community as well.
Right.
I love that you said beyond, because there's another social media platform that has recently said that's calling the word cisgender hate speech. Have y'all heard this?
I've not heard that. No.
Oh wow!
That bird.
There's a
Okay.
there's a little and a major one that was recently a year or two ago bought out by a grillionaire. But yeah, that's decided that the word cisgender can be used like it's a hate word. It's a hate word, which is so ridiculous. That shows the bias. By saying cisgender, here's the problem. White people, cis men, straight people, they are so used to being the norm. Like you never hear anybody say, "Oh, this straight man." It's always this gay man did a thing. Or you never hear anybody say, "Oh, this white lady." Right?
Yeah.
If I didn't say black lady or Asian lady, the lady was white, and most, you know what I mean? And so they expect to be the norm. And by now, but if they call themselves cisgender, that means there are other gender. There's other ways to experience gender, and now that doesn't make cis the default. And so that's what they're fighting against. They are fighting against the privilege of being the default position. Cis just means the same. I am the same gender that I was assigned when I was birth. I'm cisgender. Transgender means that my gender experience, my gender reality is different than what the OBGYN said when I was born. That's all. Cis just means the same. Trans just means beyond, going beyond what they said when I was born. But it no longer assumes that one group is the norm, the default. And so if there's a place like Reddit, I haven't done anything with Reddit, and now I'm going to have to get in there and get involved, because safe space where you can tell the truth and have uncomfortable but still respectful conversations, we need those. We need places where you know what a word means before you ban it.
Yeah.
My goodness.
And so
Your conversation about how words are used takes me way back to when I was in public school and we started looking at newspapers, and we started looking at the bias that was inherent in the conversations. Just like you just said, if you read an article and said a man did X, Y, and Z, it was known to be a white man. If you read something and it was specific about the race of the individual, you knew because they were saying a black man, a black woman. But if you simply said a man or a woman, that was it.
There was a
knew
default.
who they were. So privilege has its power. And to challenge that power means that you're challenging a structure that has existed in this country anyway for a very long time. And I love that on Reddit you can do stuff that couldn't be done before. I remember dial-up, and there were little groups that would be formed in
chat rooms.
Chat rooms, yeah.
And in those chat rooms, people felt a little more comfortable about doing what they're doing. This sounds like chat rooms on steroids, and I encourage it.
we're here for it.
Exactly.
Right. The only thing I have to say is I'm thrilled to find out about this. I really didn't know much of anything about Reddit, and now I want to explore it. I want to find out what it is, and I'm actually anxious. I have a family member who is a transgender woman, and I want to make sure that they are aware of it. They are aware of
Excellent.
this. So because they love watching Sunshine Cathedral.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Ready? You got four new people read it.
All
so
right.
well done, you. Well done.
You're on there.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You already there?
Best kept secret. All right.
He's on everything, but he doesn't play on everything. He's just good. So now he's going to become more involved.
I want to make one comment about this whole race thing. I have always been fascinated by people who do use the color of someone when telling a story. And I finally confronted someone on that day, one day, and said, why does this person's color make a difference to the story that you're telling me?
Yeah.
You know? And I think that was important to name it for this person, and they've never done that with me again, to give someone a color and saying, oh, I went to the grocery store and this colored lady was picking up an apple as I was picking up an apple. Why does being a colored lady picking up an apple have anything to do with you both shopping for apples? So
And also,
being mindful.
in 1969.
Exactly.
It was in the 2000s.
Here we are. Yeah. Wow.
Okay, I just had to get that out.
But you remember, that shows you the power, though, of speech and media.
Right.
When I was a kid, you were already, very old.
I love
But
it too.
when we were kids, there was a commercial. It was a public service announcement. It was a commercial. It's Grandpa fishing. Do you remember fishing with his grandson? And the grandson says, "Grandpa, my Indian friend, whatever, called me prejudiced." And Grandpa said, "You are." And the kid said, Why? Why would you say that, Grandpa? He said, because you referred to him as your Indian friend. If you didn't just say your friend, Tom or whoever, you separated him. He's like, oh, this is a message I'm getting at 5 or 6 years old that has stuck with me. And you don't see those kinds of education. Really?
Yeah.
No, I've never seen that.
White guy, white kid. My friend told me his parents. You are, because you started out with this different, this other, and so that got those messages very early on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Of course, we grew up just on the tail end of the civil rights movement, so those things were important. But, and I think the opposition to wokeness are so afraid that we're going to go back to trying to teach kindness and tolerance and community, and
Imagine that.
and
Wow.
and that they've gotten all their power and a lot of wealth out of not that. And but we're going, love wins. It may win like a glacier wins. it may not be a speedy win, but love ultimately wins.
Maybe move faster. Global warming is happening.
Yeah, that's
my
true.
goodness.
That's true.
And that's why we need more wokeness. Next up, we are excited to tell you that we are going to cruise to the Eastern Mediterranean this fall, just in November. It's not far really away. And that will include the world's major religious sites for Christians and Jews and Muslims as we visit Athens. I love Athens. And Egypt, that'll be my first time. And Israel, I love Israel. And Ephesus. These are 3 continents that we'll be visiting on one cruise. And you can find out more and reserve your space. You'll want to do this, I promise, at happeningout.travel/sunshine.
Would you like to join the Queer God Squad on a special winter cruise in 2024? Well, now you can. You will visit Cozumel, Mexico, Grand Cayman, and Ocho Rio. And you can even add an open bar and Wi-Fi. Join us by going to happeningout.travel/sunshine.
That's today with the Queer God Squad. We want to thank you for joining us. We're here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to talk about what our LGBTQ+ community is talking about.